finding your first car could be quite a bit of a challenge and can be sometimes very difficult for many.
So is the Chevrolet Cruze really worth to actually looking as a first car? Let's go ahead and find out.
Chevy's lineup of compact cars has always been an interesting mix back in the mid-2000s. You first had the Chevy Cavalier, which was honestly a pretty ugly looking sedan, as well as it came in a coupe and even had a performance version known as the Cavalier SS. It was popular, but it was hideous at the same time. That's when they switched over to the Chevy Cobalt, which had taillights of a GTR, also had a much better styling to it, and a very famous version known as the Cobalt SS. And eventually switching to the Chevy Cruze as a first generation, it was a lot more of a handsome sedan, and as well as featuring as the first generation diesel engine. Switching over to the second generation Chevy Cruze, also featuring a diesel engine at this generation, it was a lot more of a handsome compact sedan and also featuring a hatchback, and also having an interior that featured many things that people fall in love with.
Right now, sitting in the inside of the Chevy Cruze, this is a pretty basic interior, but it's not a terrible one. I mean, granted, you can buy a used one now for less than $20,000, but if you are looking for the diesel one, they do come automatic, and they also do come manual as well, like this particular one. And you can find those for maybe a little bit less than $20,000, or it will be going slightly above more. This one was purchased for around 15 grand, so, but it also has higher mileage. This one particular has almost 70,000 miles on it, so it's just something to keep in mind of. But what I will say about this interior, this is the LT trim. It does have a lot of plastic, but it's to be expected, to be honest with you. This is a compact car that's for around 15 grand. You can't complain about it. Honestly speaking to you, it is built pretty good. It's actually a pretty solid car. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm actually surprised given the fact that this is a Chevy, and I'm not complaining about it, honestly. The gauges here are actually really good. I have a lot of information that could tell me everything from between the temperature to also the gas mileage, and to also to telling me the life of the DEF fluid as well as the fuel filter. So that's something that is pretty important. If you're looking for a diesel one in particular, it does tell you the right information, which I do appreciate. The infotainment system also in particular, it's okay. I mean, it's one of the cheaper infotainment systems from Chevy. Whenever you get like a work truck trim, or you get like one of the compact cars like this particular one, you do have this weird looking infotainment system. It is okay. It does the job. It does have Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, so if that's something that you're looking for, get one of these. It does have Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. Also, and down here in the middle, you do have your traction control, which I would never recommend taking that off. This thing has a lot of torque. And you do have your 6-speed manual. If you're looking for an automatic, you will have a little bit more storage in this center area. The shifter obviously takes a lot of space for that. You also do have your e-brake here, which in my opinion, it is in a very stupid spot, because it just makes me a little bit anorexic trying to take it off and everything like that. I don't like the placement of it. That's my big complaint. My other complaint too, I'm assuming this is because of the fact that this is a 6-speed, is also the cup holder arrangements. I can fit my little can right here, and I have a slightly bigger cup holder here. Yeah, slightly bigger. And I do have like a little strange storage area here. Not the biggest fan of this assortment here, but it is what it is. You also do have a nice center storage here in the console area. It's decent storage for a compact car. Can't complain about it. You also do have your glove compartment here, and you also do have your basic AC controls here that are nice buttons. And you also actually have heated seats. It's quite surprising, honestly. So if you live in a colder area, heated seats, cannot complain about that. I also do like the fact of the buttons assortments in the steering wheel of Chevys. I like how simplistic it is, and I also do like the fact that there are buttons in the back of the steering wheel controlling your volume, which I'm not going to play because I don't want to get sued. And you can also switch your music here or your radio station here on the left side, I'm sorry. So I like that assortment. I also do like the fact that you do have your buttons assortments here where you can actually look at your gauges to view whatever setting you want to view it at. And you also do have cruise control as well. And on top of that, which was kind of surprising to me, this has a heated steering wheel. Kind of surprising, I'm not gonna lie to you. So another thing too with the window switches here, they are one touch automatic going down, but you do have to hold it up. That's the only thing that I will say. That's just something to keep in mind. If that's a deal breaker, there you go. That's something I'm telling you about. But honestly, it's not really that big of a deal. It's not like it's going to kill you. You don't have any sunglass storage here on top, so that's kind of tedious. But you also do have a nice dome lights here, and you can actually set the main dome light here. So this is pretty much the interior. It is a decent interior. Of course, there's a lot of plastics everywhere, but if you're buying a car like this, you should expect it. Right, now sitting in the back seat of the Chevy Cruze, this is, mind you, the sedan version. You could also get the hatchback version with the diesel and a manual. What I love Chevy, how they just kind of like bring out a bunch of options for you and you can kind of choose whatever you want. That's something that I really do support about Chevy. That's honestly a really good thing that they have done. So, but anyways, talking about this back seats of the Cruze, it's okay. I mean, it's not the biggest backseat room you're gonna have. I mean, if you're shopping around for between this Mazda 3 or a Toyota Corolla or a Civic, this is gonna be more on the smaller side of that. So my legs do hit the seat, but if I put them on the side and I kind of sit down, just kind of like laying back a little bit and stuff, I'm not really complaining necessarily. I have been into an Orlando trip with this thing before, and in the back seat particularly, and it's okay. It's not the most comfortable, obviously. I mean, you would prefer to have a little bit more leg space, obviously, given the fact that I'm 6 feet tall. Something, of course, everyone will like to have, but it's not like it's going to kill you. For short trips and stuff, this is perfectly fine. But yes, if you are taller than 6 feet tall, then I'm sorry. If you are taller than 6 feet, you may struggle a little bit to get in and out of the car, and it will definitely be more tighter. In the center console area right here, because you do have a center armrest, you do have 2 cup holders, and that's pretty much it. It's a very basic interior, and especially in the back seats, so it's not bad. The seats feel comfortable. I do have decent amount of headroom, surprisingly, so it's not a bad seating area.
Trunk space in the Chevy Cruze is pretty versatile. For the sedan version, for the L and the LS trim, is going to be 14.8 cubic feet of space, while the LT and Premier sedan is going to be 13.9 cubic feet of space. Now keep in mind the hatchback is a lot more spacious, starting up at 24.7 cubic feet of space, and with the seats down, 47.2 cubic feet of space. What you're currently hearing is the 1.6 liter Ecotec turbo diesel 4-cylinder. Makes about 137 horsepower and 240 pound-feet of torque. Given the fact that it's diesel, it is also very efficient. 37 miles a gallon on the city and 52 miles a gallon on the highway. This thing is ridiculous.
Depending on really how you engage, this thing could vary. This thing will have a certain personality on you. You have to drive this car like it's an economy car. You cannot haul ass in it. You cannot do anything stupid with this thing. You have to be very gentle with it. And it's to be expected, to be honest with you, especially since you're trying to save on gas. This is what the car is purposed for. It does have a little bit of turbo lag, but once that turbo does kick in, it will put you in the back of the seat, which that's something that genuinely surprised me about this car. Once I started driving it, it does put you in the back of the seat. The 6-speed manual too, it shifts pretty smooth. It does have a little bit slight of a rubbery feel on it. It's not the most engaging manual in the planet. The clutch is good. You feel where the bite point is at, so it's not a terrible clutch at all whatsoever. This is just a basic manual transmission. There's not any type of serious engineering or any type of serious engagement you're gonna have with this car. This is just a compact car that's making you go to point A to point B pretty comfortably too. Honestly, I do like the driver position in this car a lot. Since I am more of a taller person, I like to sit low, and I also like to just see out in the view pretty good, with also the steering wheel and the seat just at a little bit more of a laid back position. And this car, I don't know why, Chevy has a really good way of knowing how to do seating positions really well. And this car has a great seating position for me. I cannot complain about that whatsoever in this car. The seats, on the firmer side, but they're not like horrendous at all. They're actually pretty comfortable. I don't mind it at all whatsoever. I can't really put my arm right here and just put my hand on the steering wheel. It's not really the most comfortable position. The more comfortable position, if you just lowered it down a little bit and you just have your hand holding the steering wheel right here, and that's more of a comfortable position. So to engage the car, like I said, only clutch and then gas. It's a little bit weird. It's a little bit funky, I'll be honest with you. So it's something that you have to kind of get used to. And this car does like to be shifted very slowly. This is not any type of speed car at all whatsoever. It has torque, which I'll show you now. It's pretty quick, I will say. This thing is pretty quick for what it is. It only has like 130 something horses, but it does get up and go pretty well. The only other thing that I will say about this car, and particularly with this manual as well as the engine, is probably because mostly tuning and also it's a turbo. It does not like to rev match at all whatsoever. The throttle in this car is pretty slow to respond, so you cannot necessarily blip the throttle at all whatsoever in this thing. So you can't rev match, you can't really do anything in this car whatsoever. I mean, you can rev match, but it takes time for the throttle to respond. So it's not really something that is going to be enjoying to drive. It's just something that at least you can shift your own gears and you can save money on gas. This thing does average around 52 miles a gallon on the highway, and that is something that I haven't really heard with many vehicles. There's only a few hybrids that are capable of doing that just on a daily basis, and this thing does it with a diesel motor, and that's something that I have to honestly say is really impressive. All right, so we're gonna just do a acceleration. We're gonna just see how the turning radius is. It's pretty good. Oh crap, it's good. All right, let's just do a small acceleration. The engagement, I'm gonna be honest with you, I did not shift it good at all. I'm not used to this clutch at all. It's a weird clutch. It's a very weird clutch. What I also do notice too, right off the bat, this thing can rev all the way up to 4,800 RPM, almost 5,000 RPM. For a diesel, that's a pretty high revving engine. The power dies down immediately after 4,500 RPM. Like, you feel a lot of torque, and then right at 4,500 RPM, that's when the power goes down immediately. It's like it just cuts the power immediately. So this car does not like to be accelerated hard at all. This thing likes to just be driven gently. It does have a good amount of torque that will just kind of push you back a little bit for sure, but it really does not like to be handled hard at all whatsoever. This thing likes to be gentle. This thing likes to be babied. This thing likes to just be an economy car, just like what it's doing right now. It enjoys doing this a lot. We have actually taken this on the highway before, going to Orlando, and we have taken it to Orlando, and then we came back, and this thing still had 150 miles till empty. This car can last all the way up to almost 700 miles in one singular tank, which is very impressive of this car. And I have to be honest with you, that is something that really is not common of a compact car to do, really. So even a Toyota Yaris can't even do that type of mileage. So for this, doing that is really, really, really impressive. Honestly speaking to you, as a first car, you do have to keep in mind that this is a diesel motor. So that means there is extra maintenance that you have to do. For instance, you have a fuel filter now that you have to maintain. You have to replace that every so often, at least between, from what I've heard, around every 6 months. Then you also have your DEF fluid. That's an extra fluid that you have to put in this little tank that's close to the gas tank. So it's that little blue cap that you see inside the gas, inside that little gas cap. You have to put DEF fluid there. So you have to keep in mind that's something extra that you have to watch, and also something extra you have to spend. Obviously, maintaining a diesel is significantly more expensive, but if you can get around that and you don't necessarily mind that, you do have a really, really, really economical compact sedan or hatchback. If you really want to get a hatchback, it does come with this. And if you're looking for a manual, this is, from what I've known at the moment, this is one of the newest manual diesels that you can get in the United States as of right now. Volkswagen obviously discontinued the diesels around between 2015 to 2016. We obviously know why. Chevrolet still committed to doing this all the way until, I believe, 2019, that's when they discontinued the Chevrolet Cruze in the lineup. So if you're looking for one right now, I would definitely recommend checking it out, giving it a shot yourself. In terms of reliability, I don't know really how this thing would be in reliability wise. There's just something that you have to keep in mind of, and that's just coming from the emission systems. A lot of diesels do not like the new emission systems, especially the DEF fluid system. A lot of companies hate using them, but they have to just because of the EPA. So that's something to just keep in mind of. You could technically delete it, but I didn't say that. And I don't really know any shops that can do that nowadays. So it's just something you have to keep aware of. Some extra maintenance that you have to do, but it's a very economical sedan. And this is, I think, to be honest with you, this is probably the most economical sedan that you can buy at this newest rate right now. Other than maybe like a Corolla hybrid or something like that, that's probably a close competitor to that. But even then, doing almost 600 to 700 miles in just a one singular tank, basically filling up every 2 weeks on a car that only has an 11 or 12 gallon tank. That's absurd. That's really, really absurd.
One of my favorite diesel sedans I've ever driven was hands down the Volkswagen Jetta TDI. This also had a 6-speed manual transmission in it, and I will say by far it is the best one that I've driven. It's easy to rev match, it's easy to have fun and engage with, and it's almost just as twerky and literally just as efficient. But unfortunately back in 2015 that has discontinued, and the Cruze continued on all the way until 2019. It is a very good car and it's very efficient. In terms of reliability, I'm not entirely sure, but I will probably think it would be more reliable than the 1.4 liter turbo in the Cruze or in the Malibus or anything that Chevy makes with the 1.4. So give it a shot. Until next time.